You can go ahead and turn with me, if you would, to John chapter 15. If you are just joining us, if you've been here in a while, if you're on Facebook, this isn't our normal layout. We're getting ready for Easter and revival and looking at a few different things. We're going through a sermon series called Elephant in the Sanctuary, those things that we either don't want to talk about or that the church shies away from talking about, or we'd rather pretend aren't really there. And so we're going to be spending time in John 15 today and continuing on. If you look on YouVersion or following along that app, you notice that there's a large section for today, John 15, 1 through 17. And so we're not going to cover all 17 verses this morning, but it's kind of part of our Lenten year, trying to get our hearts and our minds prepared for Easter and Resurrection Sunday. And so we'll be spending over the next 3 or 4 weeks going kind of through John 15, through the resurrection, and pulling from the other Gospels as well intermittently. But if you want to start now and just kind of slowly work your way through from John 15 to the resurrection over the next 5-6 weeks, it'd be really great and time well spent. So today we're going to be looking at the vine and the awkwardness that comes in understanding the call to bear fruit. And so we're going to start with the first couple verses here. So if you would go ahead and follow along as we read, starting in verse 1. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes, so it will be even more fruitful. You are already made clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me also, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning that you have given us, and I pray that as we prepare our hearts and our minds, that you would speak to us where we're at. That we'll be able to remove any distraction, anything that is hindering us, and anything that is keeping us from seeing you clearly this morning. That we would allow your Holy Spirit to convict, to move, and to empower us. And we ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. So I want to look at a few different passages, or different key elements. And the first one is going to be the idea of the vine and what that is. As soon as we're done, you're going to have a interesting little gift, I'll say. As you leave, it may be edible, it may not be, but a reminder for today. And so as you leave, I'm going to talk about the idea of grapes. And so if you could kind of picture in your mind a cluster of grapes, or if you've been to a vineyard or a winery or anything along those lines, you can kind of imagine the grapevines. And as you go through and you look at these, they're very popular in some places. They're very vibrant. They're very colorful. They have a lot of life. But they're also a lot of work. And so as you go through and are looking at the different areas of where all of these things take place, you have to understand there's a lot of work in upkeep, in maintenance, and making sure that they are very well cared for. I don't know a lot about grapes and taking care of them, but I do know a lot about landscaping. I've spent years and years throughout college, throughout high school, either taking care of our lawn or kind of helping pay college bills and things like that as they came along. And so we spent a great deal in looking at the different ways things grow. How many people do well with plants? A few. I do not. If they're outside, I can take care of them. One of the things I hated the most in all of landscaping were flower beds. Did not like them because you go through and you clean them out, and you go and mow the park, and literally, I feel as soon as I got done mowing the park after an hour, I went back into more weeds where I just pulled them. It was like this never-ending battle. And so, in order for everything to look good and look vibrant, you had to understand that it took a lot of work. And one of the things I don't think that we like to pay attention on or look at is the things that do not bear fruit, those items where it may not be the prettiest thing to look at. That there are seasons and there are hard times that we go through. And so I want to kind of jump to verse 6, because we didn't read that and we didn't do it for a reason. It says, if you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned. Do we have that picture yet? Working on it. We have this wonderful bush in our house, and as soon as we get the picture, we'll have it up there. We moved here, and it was this interesting kind of green thing. It grew over our mailbox. You had to kind of trim it back or push it back or break or bend or do something to be able to see our mailbox, but we never realized what it really was. We just kind of assumed it was this weird shrubbery, this weird bush thing, and Callie had been on me and said, you need to go clean it, you need to clean it, and I was like, I know. Anyway, a year and a half, 2 years later, I finally went out and was like, okay, we're going to actually take care of this. I know how to do it, I've just been neglecting it, and I really didn't want to. So I went out and we cut it, we pruned it down, and this is what it looks like now. Well, not now, but this was last year. We've been there for 2 years, and all we saw were green sticks, broken pieces. And I wish you could see it close, because you could see that there's still a lot of dead and broken things in it. The pile of sticks that I ended up throwing away accumulated in our backyard, and it was a decent waist-high pile that was just massive. And it took us took me to go through and actually look at those areas that didn't have buds on them, that didn't really have leaves, or had very few or very sparse leaves in them. Things that looked either dead or dying, or that were being starved. And so I had to get really deep into the middle of the bush. I had to kind of wade in, and I had gloves on, but they didn't protect everything, and it was kind of painful trying to get in to get the parts that were truly dead. There were some really thick branches in there. And you could tell that they had been there for a long time. And I think that's kind of the image here that we're looking at, that there are things that are either dead or robbing us. If you get a cluster of grapes from the store, and I had to protect Abigail from eating one, because I think it would have scarred her from eating grapes forever, and she loves fruit. But we were going through and looking at grapes, and there was a rotted one kind of in the middle, tucked away, hidden. And like I said, I know she would have eaten it and would have ruined her forever, because that's kind of how I've been. But they're there. Even in the really good clusters, even in the really good parts, you still find those things that are not as healthy, that are not as vibrant, that are not that great to eat. But what I see here, and oftentimes, and I've had conversations in almost every church that I've gone to, asking, well, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? And it's not so much that we're not doing it, but we don't see the fruit quickly. We had a section last night where we were talking and having a response time. And Steve shared the comment about a youth group that he was part of, that he helped lead. He said, looking back 25 years ago, we are seeing fruit today that we planted then and helped cultivate and helped plant those seeds and water and see them through. And it isn't necessarily a quick process to see that fruit take place. But on the same side of that, we also have this idea of we can have those parts of our lives that take really long times to build up, that are destructive. When we have the season of Lent, and as we're going through, we look at the different things that we're either removing or adding in. And with Lent, and the purpose behind it is to remove something that is taking your focus from or off of God and replacing it with something else. And so we look at the things that need to be pruned. And here's the awkward part, is we don't really like that idea of pruning. The bush that we had, can you go back to the bush? Maybe. Yep, there it is. The first year that I did it, it didn't look like that. It took a year break, and then the following year it actually looked really nice and full and colorful and vibrant. And so the part that we don't like is looking at those areas that need pruned and saying, yeah, I have this small piece of me that is broken. I have this small piece in my life that is kind of sucking the nutrients out of it so that it's keeping the fruit from maturing. And I don't know that we always realize that that's taking place. I don't always know that that is the first thought that we have when we get into this place of understanding where our fruit is coming from. If you go through, and here's a question that I want us to kind of think through and work through this week as we continue on, is how do you measure or see fruit? If you were to go to a store, you can see the produce aisle, like, yep, that's an orange, that's an apple, that's this. And you can kind of go through, and there's ways to see, well, this is right, this is going bad. Why did they put that out? That should not be there. Just based on what it looks like. And we can do the same thing with our own lives and our own experiences. And whether we realize it or not, there are those people that watch what we do. There are people that I have heard, not as much in this community yet, but I've been here as long, but I've heard it in many places I've been. It's like, well, I know they go to church, but I know what they do on the weekdays, and if that's the result of what they're getting out of church, why do I want to come to your church? They're seeing that there is this process that is taking place, but the fruit doesn't match what's going on the exterior. That when they look at that, like if they're going through the produce aisle, and they're looking at, well, what do I want? It's like, well, I know that this fruit came from Florida, but it doesn't look good. And if this came from Florida, why would I want this fruit if that one? And it gets lumped together. It's kind of like the clusters of grapes that while we have an entire thing, I ate a grape, and while, like I said, I was protecting Abigail from it. I ate a grape that looked all right on the outside, but it was absolutely the grossest thing ever. And I don't really eat grapes to this day. I don't mind the way it tastes. I love grape juice, but it's just this mental block I have from eating a bad grape one, maybe two times. And it kind of ruins it, even though the rest of them, look good, they are fine. If they are not like rock hard, firm, I don't eat grapes. Like, you can barely squish them in and dead. It's like, nope, I'm not trying it. But you have to look at that, because that's how some people view and look at the church. And it may be awkward to go through and say, well, yeah, that may be my one issue. And we get to the point of, okay, so how do we actually measure our fruit? And we looked at kind of the Galatian idea. That if you look at the fruit of the Spirit, not fruits plural, fruit singular, because I think what we tend to do in our pruning process, I think what we would like to do is we like to say, well, I can do the whole have joy and I can have patience, but I really don't feel like loving everybody in every way, so I'll kind of avoid that fruit. But we can't separate it. It's all or nothing. You look at Galatians 5 in its entirety, and it talks about the ways of the world and the ways of the Spirit. And it says, and it lumps them all together, the way of the Spirit is, and it's not a multiple thing. It's not R, it's not plural, it is one. And so we have to go through and not only kind of look at those areas and say, okay, if this is here, and this isn't, what is causing that area of my life? And that's the hard part. That's the difficult part for us to get to. Because we don't like looking at those areas that may cause us heartache or frustration or guilt or hurt. One of the examples that I had in my life, in my ministry, is I was able to love people. I was very accepting. I was very joyful. But I had a problem with patience. I still have those issues, and I like to see results immediately. And so I was going through and working with teens. And when you tell teens to do something, they do it the first time, on time, when you ask them to do it, right? Makes sense. So I asked them over and over and over and over, And ended up getting to the point where I was like, this isn't working. If you're not going to do this, then you don't need to help in this area. We'll find something else that you can do when I'm asking you to do it. And it took a long time, and so I think it's one of the issues and reasons why God's like, yeah, you're not doing children's ministry. Because that's even more patience. But it's an area that I had to come to grips with and say, yeah, this is something I need to look at. This is something I need to examine. As painful as it may be to admit that really needs a lot of work and stuff done. I'm not doing anything about it. And while that may need work and I may be focusing on others, people are seeing that very short-sighted, that short temper, that if it's not done now in my way, we're not doing it at all type of a mentality. And it's like, okay, that's hurting and robbing others from other areas of my life. And so it's not that we necessarily have this idea of starting out, well, yeah, this is a major detrimental part, but I think that if you look at it, like I said, I had some of those branches that were growing for many, many years. And I think that's where this happens, is it's not necessarily one habit that we spring up immediately and it's the size of an oak tree. It starts out as those little saplings and just over time take over. It's like the flower beds that I mentioned earlier, where if you allow just like the one weed to form, it just slowly creeps over and takes over and kills off everything else. One thing that I'm not familiar with in landscaping that I'm running into here, and if anybody wants to come over to our house and help me figure it out, great, is the idea of moss. Not used to moss. South Dakota is fairly dry. Colorado gets wet, but it dries out quickly. So I don't deal with moss well. And in our front yard, it has this top part, and it's covered in moss. Tried to kill it, tried to do whatever. It kind of works, but looks horrid at times as well. But if I don't do anything with it, it just continues to spread throughout the entire yard. And it looks nice because it's green, but at the same time, it's like, no, I'm not dealing with that. That's nasty. But it's the same mentality, where it may start in one spot and be okay for just that one area, and the rest of the yard looks great. Over time, if it's not dealt with, it's going to creep and kill off everything that is good. When we talk about fruit and we look at the piles of what is to be burned, one of the hardest conversations that I have is talking about people that either fall away from God or don't believe in God after a certain point or something along those lines. Like, well, how do you wrestle with those? Do you actually believe they had a relationship with God to begin with? Can you lose your salvation? How do you understand this? And it is something that is a very delicate issue. One of the conversations that I had many years ago with one of my students, they said, well, if God truly loves us, then why would he take back something he gave to us? And so we went through and we sat at McDonald's, actually, and people looked at us very weird as they walked by. And as we went through it, it wasn't that God takes anything back from us. He doesn't take back our salvation. When you get your grapes, as we hopefully nobody doesn't like grapes like I am, but as you look at the idea of the vine doesn't kick off grapes. It doesn't say, well, this branch no longer is fit to be here, and so we have to get rid of it. It's the idea that whatever's going on in that cluster is rejecting the vine. That there is this point that we have to realize that it's not the vine that is kicking us off or removing us, it's we're removing ourselves. And the hard part, and when I say church, I don't mean a building. I mean the body of Christ. The problem I've seen over and over and over is that when people leave church, and there are many reasons people leave, whether it's I don't like the style of worship, I don't like this person, they offended me, they did this, it's full of hypocrites, I'm not going to be a part of it, I'll find God elsewhere. You name it, I've heard the reason people leave. when they leave the body of Christ, because they think that they can either do it on their own or they have a better way than what is going on. I can almost set my clock by when things start to go bad. That the moment when we remove ourselves from that vine, when we remove ourselves from the influence. And I like the idea of grapes as kind of the body of Christ and just everything about it, because you're really close to each other. I don't think anybody's quite touching here. Now, we gave ourselves some space. But if you hold up grapes, they touch each other. And it's kind of the image that we have in church is that if you were to hold the church, we come in contact with each other. Though we're not getting nutrients from each other necessarily, there's still influence that is being had. Our feeding comes from the Word of God and from Christ and the Holy Spirit and that vine, but we still have to be in close proximity to others. So here's my, going back to my rotten grape. And we're going to pick on somebody, I don't know who though. We're going to pick on Jacob. So if Jacob's going rotten, are you going to be all snuggled next to him and getting all the slime and everything on him? You're probably go, and slide away, kind of the awkward picture of the elephant. If the elephant is going bad or is smelling or doing whatever, you don't really want to cuddle up next to that item. And it begins to cause this tension and this pull or this diseased effect. One of the other things that I hate doing is throwing away bread, especially when there's like 10 pieces left in there because I was being lazy and didn't feel like making sandwiches. Because one piece goes moldy. It's like, yeah, I'm not eating that. So you have to throw everything away. And so you can see how there's this effect where if we allow one thing to go and start to become bad and start to rot or mold or whatever it may be, that there is that need for pruning to go through and say, okay, we need to remove this so that everything else continues to grow. We need to remove things so that my picture of my bush in my yard continues to have flowers and to produce fruit. And so here's kind of the place that we get to. And go ahead, like I said, I encourage you to read all of John 15, 1 through 17. And if you continue, you'll be ahead for next week. But go to verse 16 if you would with me. It says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit. Fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command, that you love each other." The love aspect is what we're supposed to focus on. That if you look at the fruit of the Spirit and all of the other elements in that, if you go back and look at what Jesus teaches, he says if you love God and love others, you will basically fulfill all of the law and everything that the prophets have said. That if you have love, you're going to have joy, you're going to have patience, you're going to have peace. And it's hard for us to understand that idea of love and the love that Christ has because oftentimes our love is dependent on external circumstances. Well, I'll love you as long as, and you can fill in the blank. Or I'll love you as long as you don't do this, or as long as you do it my way, and my way is kind of my own personal whatever. Because that's how I saw it, that if you didn't do it my way, after I asked you to do it my way, then obviously you don't love me. And so you look at this idea of love and making sure that we're going and bearing fruit. One of the other ideas that I like about my bush and grapes and plants is they don't sit still. Many months ago, I talked about bamboo, how it takes many years of growth under the surface before you see anything externally or on top, and then it grows like 4 feet in a season. I mean, a massive growth rate. But it's always doing something. And so in verse 16, when it says you are to go and bear fruit. When was the last time that you took an inventory of the fruit that's evident in your lives? Because here's going to be our awkward elephant in the room. That if you go through and you look at where you've been, or where your life has gone, you can say, okay, if I am growing, if I'm growing in love and showing that love to one another, and God is alive and vibrant, and I am focusing on that, then there will be growth taking place. There's going to be something happening. Many times when I meet with leaders or volunteers or whatever that are in charge of different ministries, and this hasn't happened here, thankfully, but when I meet with them, it comes to the point of, okay, if you see yourself as a leader and coming to this idea of fruit, actually we're going to do a fun exercise. If you were to sum up leader, if you were here last night, you cannot answer. If you were to sum up leader in about 15 sentences, or 15 words in a sentence, how would you define what a leader is? I know everybody wasn't here last night. Yes?
Someone who serves you in a way that encourages you to do the right things.
Okay, that's true. A leader does do that.
Someone up front taking charge.
Someone up front taking charge. Okay, that's closer. I like to use the children's game, and if we had time and I wasn't worried about people feeling really, really awkward, we'd actually play. But how many people have played the game Follow the Leader? Okay. How many people want to play it? I don't think so. Okay. I had the conversation when things aren't necessarily on track or there needs to be some correction of following the leader. Because while a leader does do those things and a leader is that, a leader has to have followers. If they don't have followers and I stand up here playing Follow the Leader by myself, people are going to wonder what in the world's going on. Like if I go down, skipping down Mount Hood, touching my head and bouncing around doing things, and there's nobody following me, people are going to turn and either crash, trying to figure out what in the world I'm doing, and be like, that person is straight up crazy. And so as you look at the idea of leader and bearing fruit, there has to be something there. If you're saying, well, I'm a leader of this, or I'm leading this, or there has to be somebody following you. If Jesus were to go around speaking and doing all this without the following, and without people saying, I will follow you, I will love you, I will go to the ends of the world proclaiming your message, we would have wrote him off as some crazy person that lived a long time ago, or we probably would never have even heard of him if he didn't have people that followed and believed in him. So as you look at this idea of going and bearing fruit, do we actually see that evidence in our lives? That if you use that example of kind of following the leader, are there things present in our lives that we have said, okay, if I take inventory, and I know that God is living in me and that I'm supposed to be going and producing fruit, do I actually see evidence of that? And I want to say for some that may be an elephant in the room type of a conversation, because we like to sit dormant or hibernating thinking, well, I'll love God and do this, but I'm going to just kind of sit here. When Christ very clearly says you are to go and bear fruit. If you look at the nation, when there are turmoil or terms of crisis, the first place that they usually go is to God in prayer, even if that is not evident in any other thing that they do. Or people, when they come to a place in life where they find out that they have cancer that may be terminal, or that their friend passed away, or I lost a job, or I need help, where do they normally go? They normally go to people that are bearing fruit, that they understand that they go to church, that they have that evident in their life, and they know that they're going to be cared for. That there's this call that we have to bear fruit, and it's not just a little fruit, it's, and you will bear much fruit. Have we, especially as we continue through the season of Lent, have we allowed God the access to actually prune those areas of our lives that are keeping us from bearing that fruit? Are we actually open to the idea that we may be lacking in areas and have allowed them to grow out of control and need God to come in and actually prune those areas out of our life? Because I don't want, and God doesn't want, the instance to happen where it is a person or a group or a cluster that needs to be pruned and thrown away, because if you get to that point where it's withered, the only thing that is good for is burning. And I think there's enough people and there's enough churches around that we can say that God is working, that He's trying to influence and try. Like I said, it's not God's fault, it's our choosing. It's our free will that has to say, okay, I'm going to go and step out of my awkwardness, my uncomfortable place. I will admit to what is going wrong so that I can actually begin to bear fruit. That I'll allow God the access so that I understand that while I didn't choose Him first, He chose me and appointed me. He has worked me into His vine somewhere down the road. And if I want to remain there, I actually have to follow what He said. I can't allow others to try to do it for me. I can't allow myself to become dormant, that I have to actually go and bear fruit. And so I want to take time as we close to kind of wrap up with that thought. That as we go through and look at those areas, that as we go through and examine the things, especially as we consider the season of Lent where we've given up something or removed something or added a spiritual practice or discipline in our lives to draw us closer, as we get closer and closer to Easter, that's kind of the point of it. It's a pruning. We are to remove something in our lives that is consuming our time that was meant to be placed with God. Where we're removing something that is hindering us from being able to experience the love that God has for us, and it's keeping us from showing that love to others, to go and actually bear fruit or be present so that others will likewise have the opportunity to come and choose to follow Him, to be grafted in with us. And then it's a growing process in a new way. Are we actually allowing God that access to clean us up, to transform us, and create that new work that breathes life? As people walked in this morning, everybody was commenting on the greenness of everything. How everything is coming to life, everything is looking great. And that's the same opportunity that we have every day, but especially today as we look at this idea of pruning, removing the old, dead, or dying parts so that new, clean, fresh life can grow from it. So if you would go ahead and stand with me as we close in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank You for this time and this opportunity that we have to come and examine our lives. Even though it may be uncomfortable, we know that this is a place of safety. A place that we can come to receive a message from You, to praise You, to worship You, and surrender our lives to You, to give You access to those dark parts of our lives that we'd rather keep hidden instead of actually removing them. And so, Father, as we continue to move through Lent, that we would pray that this time of pruning would be replaced with new life that produces abundant fruit. But it isn't just something that is said, but it's something that is lived out in every part of our lives. So when we leave here, it's not something that we leave behind, but we take with us. And that we would remember Your call to remain in You and remain in Your love, just as You have shown that to us. Father, I pray that You would put those people in our paths that would need to see the fruit that You provide. The life-giving sustenance, the joy and peace, the forgiveness and love. So, Father, I pray that You would continue